Hi, everyone. Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to this week's author journey. We have the very great pleasure of having a romance author with us, but she's actually got lots of other stuff going on too. But for now, I'm going to give you a little introduction, and then we'll bring Donna Alward up to join us, if I can wrap my tongue around that. Since 2006, New York Times bestseller Donna Jones Alward has enchanted readers with stories of happy endings and homecomings that have won several awards and been translated into over a dozen languages. She's worked as an administrative assistant, teaching assistant, and in retail, and as a stay-at-home mom, but always knew her degree in English literature would pay off, as she is now happy to be a full-time writer. Her new historical fiction tales blend her love of history with characters who step beyond their biggest fears to claim the lives they desire. Donna currently lives in Nova Scotia, Canada, with her husband and 2 cats, and you can often find her near the water, either kayaking on the lake or walking the sandy beaches to refill her creative well. I might paddle past her one day on my paddleboard, but let's bring Donna up to join us. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the author journey. We're so excited to have you finally, right?
Right. I've known you a long time, like just here and there.
Oh, I know. We were just chatting backstage, and when we first met was almost 7 years ago.
Yeah.
At an author extravaganza at the Forum.
At the Forum, yeah.
At the Forum, and we were on a panel of editors. Boy, I felt a little bit out of my league, but it's one of those. But it was a fun day. It was a fun day for sure. For sure. But you've done a lot. There's a lot going on in your world right now.
Yeah, I keep out of trouble for the most part.
A little bit, right? I want to tell you, I did, and I was going to share in the intro, I did just finish reading this over the weekend, Somebody Like You, which is one of your many, many, many titles.
Right.
And I think our timing is perfect because the weather is warming up. You know, people are going to start going to the beach, and your books are the perfect beach read. You know, there's so much angst in the world that, you know, kind of getting lost in a romance is really, I think, very rejuvenating. And I mean, at least I find it that way. So how many books have you written?
So whenever anyone asks me this, I kind of get a little bit, because I never remember the actual number. I know so I will say ballpark, somewhere between 65 and 70.
Wow. Well, and I was just looking, I mean, my eyes kind of glazed over. I was just looking at your Amazon author page, and you know, it lists like 245 titles, and I'm like, oh my goodness, does the girl ever sleep? So,
yeah, and some of those are different versions of the same book. And Amazon also lists like foreign language titles. So some will be French, some will be Spanish, or anthologies. So if my publishers have included one of my stories in an anthology, then that's a separate title. So it's a little deceiving, but it's somewhere between 65 and 70. I think 67, but I mean, it's not that it's so many. It's just that I guess I just kind of move on to the next, and I don't really pay up a lot of attention.
And so when was the point? So you started, it says in 2006. And as I said, when we met, you were also still doing editing for other people. When did the shift happen? When did you start full-time, 100% just writing your books?
Well, actually, I did. So when I started writing in 2001, and I sold my first book in 2006. And then I was, at that point, I was home with the kids most of the time. And so I was actually a full-time writer at that point. Mm-hmm. And then just circumstances being what they were with us a little bit for a while financially, and I had a lot more of experience under my belt and stuff. And so I joined up with Nancy Cassidy, and she taught me a lot, and started editing for a while. And I continued with that until I think it was 2021, or maybe late 2020, early 2021, when I kind of let my client list know that I was I was going to back away from editing. And it was just a case of being stretched way too thin and not really wanting to go through burnout again.
So true. Well, and I can certainly relate to that. And, the only editing that I'm doing now would be books that I would end up publishing. So
Right.
it's hard to like wear too many hats. So when you first started writing romance, what was it that drew you to that genre?
I kind of fell into it by accident. And I grew up reading authors like Will Spencer and Judith McNaught,
Mm,
and I mean, I liked romance, but I didn't really think that was when I started writing. I was just going to write a book, and it just happened that a romance of about 50,000 words is what came out, and I enjoyed the process a lot. And I thought, oh, I really want to do this. And then
mhm,
it took me, 10 books in 5 years before I finally sold. And and I still, like, even though I'm not, and I know we're going to get to this in a bit, but like, even though I'm not writing romance currently,
mhm,
I still really believe in the genre, and I think it's important. And I think it's sometimes the books feel simple when you're reading them, but that's deceptive in how complex they are to write. And
mhm,
so, I'll never say any. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to learn how to write too, because
mhm,
it's so character focused, and you really
mhm.
have to get into deep point of view to get into those emotions. So
And even though, and some of it, I believe you did do some writing for Harlequin,
I did.
correct? And some of it is when you're working for a publisher like Harlequin, it's very formulaic. Um, or is it? Is it or is it not?
It is, and but I mean, it is in that. So the way Harlequin is structured with their category romance sort of business is that each particular line has, like, when a reader picks up that line, they know what they're going to get.
Mhm, mhm,
But I would say it's, while there's a form to it and there's a reader expectation. So some are more steamy, some are not. Some are
mhm,
more glamorous, others are more, home and hearth kind of thing.
mhm, mhm,
But it's more form, the same way as, like, if you look at movies, especially things like rom-coms or
mhm,
something, and you mean they have a form in that there's there are, a three-act structure kind of thing, and the same thing is true.
mhm. For
It's just
every
very tightly
genre.
focused on they're very tightly focused on that romantic relationship.
Mhm. And I was gonna say that even though that is the case, um, and I think the biggest reason, as you mentioned, is that you have expectations from your readers. The fans of a particular genre, they want to see certain tropes.
Right.
They do want some surprises, but there are some expectations, and you don't want to, take them too far out of it.
It's kind of that catch-22 as a writer, where you want to deliver the same thing but different, and you want it
Right,
to be familiar but fresh. And
right.
so that's actually a challenge to.
Hmm. Well, and I was going to say, because, there's somebody like you is very fresh in my mind. And I used to devour romance novels. I've expanded my genres, but I still love going back to, a good romance novel,
Mhm.
every once in a while. And even though you assume that, these two main characters are going to wind up together in the end,
Yeah.
um, there's still some really good twists and turns in this one. And I want to say a shout out to Sue Slade, who's watching us. Thanks for joining us, Sue.
Hey,
Really,
Sam.
hi, Sue. Really appreciate it. I asked her, I want to read a couple of Donna's books before, we do the interview. What would you recommend? She said, "Oh my God, you've got to read this one. It has the most romantic ending I've ever read." So it's like, all right, sold
I'm
kind of
actually
thing.
really proud of that ending. It's one of my favorite ones that I've ever written. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I was torn, because on the one hand, I'm like, well, but she didn't get to make any choices. But then on the other, but she told him what she wanted, right? But no spoilers, right?
Yeah.
And the other one that I just started, I thought was important to mention, because you have some proceeds being donated from the
Right.
sales of this, right? You
Yes.
want to
So
talk a little bit
50%
about that?
of the royalties that I receive go to the Alzheimer's Society of Canada.
Thank you. So that's yay. That's wonderful. Um, so talk a little bit about your um, some of your titles from like 2006, as contracts sort of wrap up and that kind of thing. You can take those back,
Right.
right? So how does that work? So your backlist.
Right.
Give us just a
So
little lesson.
So sometimes what happens is when your books have been out for quite a while, and publishers keep putting out new books as they should.
Hmm.
Sometimes the sales dwindle a bit, or there are things that you wish you could refresh or relaunch. And so in the fall of 2020, I asked Harlequin and St. Martin's and Entangled. Anyway, anything I had when I looked at my contracts that was eligible to be reverted back to me,
Hmm.
I asked for, and I got almost all of them, which I didn't expect. So
Wow.
all of a sudden, I had the rights back to like 30 some books. And I was like,
God.
okay, I
Now
need to
what?
get these republished now so that they can go to readers. Um, so that involved, for me at least, I proofread all of them again. Some of them
Good.
I hired an external proofreader who also happens to be my kid, who has a degree in English Lit and is a
Awesome.
big grammar nerd. So,
Oh, I'm always looking for good editors, Donna.
right. So I hired them to give some of them a second look.
Hmm.
Hired a cover artist. I learned a whole lot of stuff about marketing. I learned how to format my own. So if I want to make changes within,
Hmm.
the files, I can do it myself instead of having to
Yep.
pay someone to do that all the time.
Awesome.
And republished them all. And it was a huge learning curve. I have two more that I've got back this year that I'll be releasing later this year.
Wow.
And yeah, so I now have like an indie business that would keep me pretty much full time if I let it.
Well,
So,
congratulations. I'm very, very pleased to hear that. And it was always something I was curious about, because a lot of times you see books that really still are relevant going out of print. And
yeah,
so and these are evergreen, right?
yeah, and the I mean the paperbacks were pretty much gone. The ebooks were like I said, they were just sort of getting buried, and
Hmm.
so this allowed me to bring them back again. And the fun, it's been a lot of fun. But I think if I were to give any advice to anybody who's considering, sort of self-publishing in this way, is
Hmm.
um, go into it with commitment. Like I really had to commit to it
Yeah.
and be patient. So I gave myself lots of time to learn things, and I didn't
Hmm.
wait to publish until I knew everything.
Hmm.
But I made sure that like I would learn something and then apply it, and then I'd
Yeah.
learn something else, and then I'd apply it.
Excellent.
And I still do that all the time.
Hmm.
Um,
Are
yeah,
you
and
using
patience really. If you only have a title
you?
or two, like I was very lucky that I got like entire series back, so I could
Wow.
just publish an entire series and then really, because someone would read the first one, but then they'd go and read the second and then the
Hmm.
third, and so you get that nice read through going. So
That's awesome. And what platform are you using? Ingram Spark?
it's I use Ingram Spark for paperbacks as well as Amazon. Actually, I do
Hmm.
both.
Okay.
Most of my books are exclusive to Amazon, so that
Hmm.
they can be in the Kindle Unlimited program,
Hmm.
which is a
Hmm.
subscription program.
Yeah.
But I have 12 books that I have wide, so that you can find them at Kobo, Apple,
Good, good.
So anyway,
That's really smart. When you have that many titles to kind of play with, it's really great to have.
well, and
that.
the ones that are wide are ones that didn't perform as well on Amazon, or I have a handful of books that are standalones, so they don't belong to a series.
Right.
So they didn't do well on Kindle Unlimited. So it made more sense for me to put them wide. And we could do a whole show on that.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you know what? Your lips to my ears, because that
Right?
thought just occurred to me. Let's keep that.
Right? Put it in your back pocket.
Yeah, because I think that's a great idea, because, I'd love to do sort of a step-by-step. Maybe we make it like a Saturday workshop kind of thing.
I'd love that.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, stay tuned. Writing this
No,
down.
Publicly, so it,
Exactly, right? Yeah, no backing out now. So let's shift a little bit. So fast forward, you got the historical fiction bug, which I think is really, really exciting, because it's one of my favorite genres. It's a genre I publish, and I just think, and I love the theme of your next one. I'm going to bring up your new website too, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'm still waiting for an official title and a cover from my publisher, so that's why everything is like coming soon.
That's fine. So talk about this beautiful new website, and how this sort of the shift
How
came
the
about.
shift happened?
Yeah.
Well, so it's kind of funny. So right at the same time as I was deciding to get my backlist back and rejuvenate that, I got an email from an editor at HarperCollins who used to work with Mills and Boon, so Harlequin's UK counterpart. And her boss, it also used to be at Mills and Boon and was actually my senior editor at one point. Anyway, they were looking for Canadian content. And so she asked if I would be interested in writing either rom-com or historical set in Canada. And I love rom-com, but I'm pretty sure that would not be a good area. But I love historical fiction, and I've played with the idea, and then I've always been too scared to really delve into histofic. I was scared of the research. I was scared of getting things wrong. I was scared of the scope of the story. Like, I was just completely intimidated. But I believe in signs. So
I was just going to say that. This is a sign.
Me, I was like, okay. And so my inaugural blog on this new website is called If Not Now, When? And that was kind of my thing. Like, if I don't do it now, I was getting close to 50 at the time.
Okay,
I was like, if not now, when? When am I going to do it? So, there's yesterday's blog. And then I did one on Queen Charlotte, because I'm a Bridgerton nerd.
Oh, me too.
So there's the first one there was If Not Now, When?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So but the problem was I had just signed a contract for 3 more books for Harlequin. So I had to write those. I was still putting out backlist. So it took me a while, but she worked with me the whole time. And, no guarantee, like, it wasn't contracted. It was just one of those things. And so I said it during the Halifax explosion.
I love it.
And and it came in. It's the longest thing I've ever written.
What's the word count?
108,000.
Oh my goodness. Are they do you think they're going to cut it back, or?
Nope, it's already gone to copy editing. We're good.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
So I did revisions on it in March and April. And I'm super excited about it. I already got a few author quotes from Eliza Knight and Genevieve Graham, who used to live here in Halifax and is in the West now, and Renee Ryan and Jennifer Robson's reading it right now, and I'm just
you must be over the moon.
I am, and everything I do with it feels like the first time again, even though I've been in this industry for almost 20 years,
Wow.
And I love that feeling. Like, when we were going back and forth with titles, and I sent, my editor a list of potential titles, and she sent me some stuff, and we went, and then just talking about covers, and and all those little things. And I had to send her a bio, and I did up like book club questions, like reader club questions. I'd never done that before.
So
That was
fun.
something completely new, and I was really like it's like it's all new again.
That's fresh and new. And who's the publisher?
So it's One More Chapter, which is a UK imprint of HarperCollins.
Okay.
And part of what I'm waiting to hear is how the distribution is going to work. So they will do, I believe they will do ebook, print, and audio. But then the timing, and if it gets, I'm fairly certain it'll get picked up by HarperCollins Canada.
I know. Let's cross fingers and toes,
Right.
everybody.
So that's the Canadian counterpart. And then, I know she's talking to like HarperCollins in the US. So whether it gets picked up in the US maybe is a little, and sometimes they stagger releases. So I'm just waiting for those details.
Okay. And so you now simultaneously have your next romances coming out from Harlequin as well?
No, those are all out.
Oh, they're done. Okay.
They've all been out. I had my last release last year.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're totally shifting?
Totally shifting.
For now.
I'm doing Titanic research right now.
Oh, okay. So that's very intriguing.
Yeah. So working on a new book.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic. Do you have a release date for the one set in Halifax, 1917?
No.
Okay.
I'm hoping toward the end of this year, but I'm guessing it'll probably be early 2024.
Okay. Well, we'll have you back when you do that. Okay. So I also wanted to ask you about Step Into the Story.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Labor of love. I have a lot of good things going on.
I know. That's why I said this is the perfect time to be chatting, right?
Right. So Step Into the Story was actually started by a friend of mine, Renee Ryan, and some other authors to talk about, to build a community for readers of historical fiction and upmarket fiction, book club fiction, that kind of thing. And they all got super, super busy. And my best friend Barb had been brought on, and she was on some of their broadcasts fairly regularly. And, I was on and I filled in for somebody once, and I was really excited. Anyway, it turns out that, I just kept like easing myself in a little bit more. And now Barb and I run it together. And so we do 4 broadcasts a month. One is Barb alone. She does Barb's book reviews. So it's about 5 minutes. It's a little shorter, but we do a book chat once a month.
Nice.
Where we pick a book we try to keep it fairly new, but if it's something like it's a backlist book that's suddenly getting lots of buzz, then we'll maybe do that. But we sat down in November and looked at what was coming for 2023 and then made out like this huge wish list and then like picked from that. So we do that on usually the first Tuesday of the month. Then we do a featured author. So we have an author come on and talk to us during another Tuesday broadcast. So I think our most recent was Jennifer Robson. So she did Coronation Year just before the coronation. Bryn Turnbull is coming on in June. So we're super excited with that. We had Lauren Willig on. And then our last broadcast of the month is generally our writing room. And then we kind of geek out on writers.
Okay, so what is I'm going to put up the address. It's facebook.com/
groups / Step Into the Story.
/groups.
So our broadcasts show up there, and then we also have a YouTube channel.
Okay. I'm just going to pop that up so people can see it. Facebook.com /groups / Step Into the Story.
Yeah.
So if there are, of course, this is for people to join and watch and talk. So if there's an author that would like to be featured or has a book they want you to consider, should they reach out to you?
They can just DM me through that.
Okay.
Yeah, just send me a DM.
Okay.
Or you can always use the contact me thing on my website.
Okay, let me put up your website again so people can see.
But it's
Okay.
a fun time. It's a fun because we get to talk about books and we approach it both as writers and readers.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you how many times Barb and I are reading the book that we're going to feature, and we're texting back and forth.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
I
been,
love.
and we've got to meet some really great people doing it. So
Yeah.
it's been a real blessing. I'm not going to lie.
That's awesome. And when I came across it, I was like, "Ooh, this is a wonderful idea."
Yeah,
So
and
I,
we post other stuff. We don't just do the
yeah.
broadcast. So we post other things about history,
Mhm.
or if someone has a cover reveal we see or whatever, we'll post that. And
Share that. That's
yeah,
awesome. So it's really, and you know what, I love our region here, Eastern Canada. People are so supportive of one another, and just very like embrace like the bringing everybody along and
hmm
raising everybody up. So it's really, I find it so heartwarming. And when I moved home 7 years ago and started this little publishing company on a whim, I had no idea.
yeah, and that's the whole thing, right? Is that really, it's writing can be really isolating,
Hmm.
and sometimes you life is just isolating. So anytime you have a chance to build some sort of a community that
Hmm.
adds to somebody's life,
Yeah.
like I do this because it's a labor of love, and
Right.
adds to my life. I don't
Yeah.
make any money off it, or
Right.
you know what I mean. Like it's not a financial endeavor for us. It's a joy thing.
Right. Too much fun. So, where do your ideas come from? Like, how do you keep it all fresh and new and different?
Well, it was funny when I first started. I would finish a book, and I would wonder, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to write next?
Right.
Right?
Right. I
Like,
don't
I
have
need to
anything
come up
up.
with an idea. And then I think your brain just gets trained to
Mm,
see ideas in the weirdest of places. So
yes.
then I ended up with the opposite problem, which was having
Too
too
many.
many ideas and not enough time to write,
Yeah.
not enough time to write them all. When
Yeah.
it comes to historical, it's a little different. And I find I have to percolate over things a
Mm,
lot more. Sometimes it'll be like I'll start doing research about something, and a news story from that time period will all of a sudden will
trig.
tweak something, and so it's a little bit more elusive, or like it really is percolating. Things have to
Mm-hmm.
percolate a little more. And the
Mm.
funny thing with the Halifax explosion book was that it was originally supposed to be a dual timeline, so it would have been,
Right.
and the timelines were 1917, and then you know the late 90s with the Swiss air crash was
Oh
going to be the
boy.
second timeline. But the second timeline didn't work. And I would love to write a book set during that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
really important time for Nova Scotians and
Yep.
Haligonians in particular, people
Yep.
on the South Shore. But it just didn't. I was trying to force it to fit, and it really wasn't fitting. So
Mm.
I took that half of the book and I tossed it.
And you still got 108,000 words.
Well, so what I did was I added a second point of view character in 1917, and the whole story changed. Like
Yes.
everything changed.
Wow.
And so that's the iteration that stayed. And then even when I was doing revisions, I have one of my characters in third person point of view and one in first. And
Mm.
then in my revisions, I changed, like, the lead character is probably 60% of the story into first person. So that was really time consuming in the revision.
It is.
But I think it worked out a lot better. So, like, books change so much from
Yeah.
the concept to the finished product, and it's an adventure.
Yes. And that's the other thing, someone who's contemplating this journey, you've got to be um, passionate about it. You've got to love it, and you've got to be able to roll with the changes
Yeah,
because
and
some of
I
them.
think a lot of it is not being too married to your words. So be willing to
Yeah.
realize that honestly, I'm going to say something that's almost heresy, but they're just words. If you throw them out, you can't get more.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
don't be too married to your words,
Yeah.
and like fall in love with story. As long as
Yeah.
you're in love with story, then you will always have something to write, and nothing is ever over because you can always take what you have and change the story.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What wonderful advice. And you said earlier, when you just started writing, you hadn't specifically chosen, to write romance, and it's just what came out. And it
It
was
chose me, yeah.
yeah, and it's the same with me with mystery. Like I started writing about going through menopause and how that turned into a mystery, like, right? So and then it just morphed into, I was living in Dubai, and then this whole mystery was burbling around in my head because there's some strange stuff that goes on there. That was absolutely wonderful advice. I can't believe that we're already at time, but
I
I had
know, I know.
I had one more question. I really, really
Sure.
wanted to get in. What is the most memorable feedback you've ever gotten from a reader? I'm sure there's been tons, but is there one that really stands out?
From a reader?
Yeah,
Okay.
a
Um,
fan, super fan.
okay, because yeah, editorial feedback, which I've had some really amazing insights that way, and reader
Mm,
feedback is very different.
mm-hmm.
But I do remember, and I think this is why I will always say how important, like even if I'm not writing it now, how important the romance genre
Mm,
is that I got an email once from somebody who um, had a very sick relative. And in order to get through the days where she spent her time at that relative's bedside in the hospital, um, she read my books, and she said
mm.
that sort of got her through and gave her the escape she needed, and that kind of thing. And so, and I've had other emails that are similar but different to that. But like people who are going through a really rough time and need an escape, or people who read something and something in it resonates with them, and it that's just the
Keeps
icing
keeps
on
you writing, right?
it's the icing on the cake.
Keeps you writing. Well, thank you ever so much.
You're
I so
welcome.
enjoyed our conversation, and we will talk about doing either another show or a workshop
That was the
on.
fastest 30 minutes ever, I gotta say.
I 100% agree, but we'll do it again for sure.
Mhm.
And I'm just so excited that we finally made it happen, and we'll do it again. So here's DonnaJonesAlward.com. If you want to learn more about Donna and her books and her writing, please visit her website, and we will have you back again.
Yeah.
Thank you
And my
so much.
socials are on my website, so you can always find my socials there.
Socials on the website, absolutely. Follow, like, share, all that good stuff. So we'll see you again really soon.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for joining us on the author journey this week. I hope you'll come back next week when we'll have more author talk and folks sharing all of the wonderful things that happen in the writing process and in the publishing world. So for now, I'm Anne O'Connell.